Microphone check. 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you.
Hello, hello. Let's see. How do I do this? Okay. Disable the recording. Go start recording. Okay. Can everyone see me? Oh, Lucas' picture isn't on the website yet. That has to be fixed. I'll just paste him. Okay, let's just wait for a few more people to come in. Let me try sharing the page. Share screen. Share screen. Present. Nice. Okay, can everyone see the slides? Okay, great. How do I hide this shit? Yes. Sorry? Oh, you can share the slide? Okay, hang on. How do I unshare? Stop sharing. Okay. Hey, Dragon Master. The girl on the video is not related to me. She's just Asian, like me. Okay. Okay, so welcome everyone. It looks like we are 3 minutes into it. We're trying out the Telegram, having the meeting on Telegram instead of Discord. We'll see how it goes, because that's where most of our community is. Lucas, maybe could you just ping the Discord chat just to let people know if they want to join? It has to be on Telegram for now. But if this doesn't work out, the next meeting we'll hold it back on Discord. So yeah. All right, great. So just some housekeeping. All right, AJ, turn the page. Okay, so just the same thing, be polite always. We are going to follow the agenda. That means, don't deviate from what we're discussing right now. There will always be opportunity for anyone to raise anything else, but while we are discussing a particular topic, it helps to just keep things on topic. Obviously, if you're not speaking, you just please mute your mic. I think everyone's muted already. You can post your questions on the chat channel, either in text, or if you want to speak, you can raise your hand and ask. And yeah, don't interrupt until question section, and because there's actually a lot to cover today, so try to aim to be concise and to the point with questions and discussions. So again, thanks for everyone for attending. This meeting is being recorded, so if you're not, it's more for transparency purposes. So if you're not comfortable being recorded, you can just just do a text or PM me later or something like that. That's all. Okay, next page. All right, so this is the agenda. So we'll be covering some team additions. We had some new additions to the team, and we'll be covering a lot of the development updates, some of the partnerships that we've been having since the last community meeting, and some other stuff that we need community feedback from. So before I continue, does anyone have anything else that wants to be added into the agenda? Is there any particular focus of the meeting that people want? If not, we will be continuing with this agenda. Okay, let's just continue. If anyone wants to add something, you can just type in the chat, raise your hand, and we'll let you speak. Okay? All right, let's go on. AJ, next. Okay, so we have some new team additions. So actually, Zara, Hake, and Hakut, which are the first three people on top, they'll be kind of working with us for a while. But we finally added them to the website officially. They are comfortable to be added, and they have been basically the mobile team. So they are working on the mobile wallet. And Armin is our UI designer. She's been doing some of the reskin work and also the mobile wallet design. You'll get to see some of her work later. Gervok, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Gervok is a new C++ developer that will be also assisting Levon, and has been working on like multi-core sort of optimizations. And Lucas, who is also in this community call, is our new community manager in training. So please be kind. He's been doing a great job. So yeah. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so we just did a quick maintenance release, just released it yesterday. It is not mandatory, but it has a lot of improvements that I would recommend, especially if you use the wrap addresses features. So if you have a master node, I recommend updating it. It also solves a bug whereby when you're syncing from scratch, sometimes you end up on the wrong chain, and that was because of Lelantus proof batching bug. That has been fixed. There was also a bug on wrap payments whereby if someone had sent a notification transaction and then sent a payment after, if you were just turning on your wallet, it may not recognize the payment. You will have to rescan your whole wallet. So that's kind of sucky. So that's been fixed and is working as intended. And this is kind of like there's a lot of work that has been placed into it, and it's the kind of the last release before our next hard fork, which will have ProgPOW and a bunch of other stuff as well. So yeah, recommend to update it, and not mandatory, but obviously it also improves syncing time quite a bit. Okay, so let's have the next slide. Okay, so we have actually a really good research update. We've been really excited. We actually have come up with a new, not almost totally new privacy protocol. It still has the same, I guess, like using still the same cryptographic proofs as Lelantus. And we are currently on Lelantus version 1. We had originally planned to transition to something called Lelantus version 2. But now it seems that we'll probably be skipping Lelantus version 2 and going straight to Lelantus version 3. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so if you want like a really in-depth, you can go to that Firo research update. So Lelantus version 3, we actually haven't come up with a name for it, which is why we're actually going to be seeking feedback. By the way, Tojo has raised his or her hand. I'm not sure if he wants to speak on something. I guess we will later on. We will allow you to speak. If you want to just ask a quick question, you can always add it into the chat. But afterwards, during the Q&A sessions, we'll definitely open it up to questions. But for Lelantus tree, name to be determined, it actually improves on Lelantus version 2 in very key ways. Whereby it, first of all, it's a work in progress. So, take all what we are saying with a grain of salt. It may change. We are quite confident, but remember, it's a work in progress. And improves on Lelantus version 2 because now it has full stealth addressing. And what full stealth addressing means is that you can share an address, and people can pay to it, and no one knows where it's gone. So that's really important for receiver address privacy. It is working on the private address. So remember, now we have wrap addresses already, which does offer some receiver address privacy, but that only works on the transparent layer. This works on the private address layer, which is not yet released, but it will work when it's done. We also will have full view key support. And what view keys mean is that I can actually share a view key to someone so that people can take a look at what's coming in and what's going out as well. So this is incoming and outgoing view key support. Why would you want this as a privacy coin? Let's say you have an exchange, you want to comply with your auditors, or let's say you want to give the key to your tax auditor and stuff like that. It is good to have this view key support. But remember, this is optional. You don't normally give your view key support unless there's a particular reason to do so. But it's a good way to share, like, okay, take a look at my wallet, you can audit it. Or let's say if I am let's say once we move to mandatory privacy and we want to have some sort of donation address, then the view keys are important because you want to make sure that they can account for all the amounts that go in, because everything would be hidden there. So this is a very cool functionality. It's actually better than what Monero has. Monero only has incoming view support. That means they can only see they only can see what's incoming, but they can't see what's outgoing. And it's also kind of like a hacky way to get around it. So our view key support would be superior to that. We would also have full multi-sig support, meaning people can have 2 out of 3 and stuff like that. That's also really important. I believe Zcash does not have multi-sig. It has threshold signatures, but not multi-sig. So that's also really nice. And more importantly, we actually have what we call better balance security. So Lelantus version 2 and Lelantus version 1 use quite a different way to prove balance. So basically, to make sure that coins are not being created out of thin air. And the Lelantus tree construction, without getting too technical, does have an easier way to prove that this balance holds. So that's always good for security. Now, on a performance basis, it is slightly slower than Lelantus version 2. Initially, we thought that it would be 2 times slower, but it looks like we can get it to be a lot faster. So it's a lot better than expected. There's some text test experimental code available. You can go to Aaron's GitHub on that and give it a shot to do some benchmarks on yourself. I think our very initial benchmark was like something like 1 second versus 0.7 seconds. So it's not that much slower than the Lelantus version 2. And we will have an updated paper in mid-August. That means which describes all the cryptographic building blocks. And if everything turns out well, we'll probably just skip Lelantus version 2 for Lelantus version 3. Now, if you want a more detailed update, I would recommend reading the Firo research update. So since that update, it looks like we will be going to use our version. We won't be using Triptych. We won't be using Seraphis unless Lelantus version 3 has some issues. But so far, it's looking good. Remember, we're still picking a name. We don't know what to call it yet. We have a poll on the forums, and so far people have been voting to keep the Lelantus name but put something else at the back rather than coming out with something new, purely because they want to keep the Lelantus brand name. So yeah, I do think that's reasonable stuff. So yeah, next page. Okay, before I continue, are there any questions so far for all the stuff that we have shared? If you want to put up your hand, you can, or you can just type. If not, I will be continuing. Okay, I will be continuing then. All right, so development side, this is just like a brief overview. We actually did have a development update. I think Numa will be probably linking it in the chat. And that goes into detail. Obviously, some time has passed since that development update and some stuff has changed. So this, during this community meeting would be the most updated status. But if you want it to go into more detail, you can go into there. But okay, let's see the next slide. So wrap addresses has been completed. And finally, after, I don't know, pretty long, we have it working. We also improved the UI in the 14.7.1 to make sure that it is clear, how to make the connection and how to send to it. So I probably won't go into this. So just the next slide. You can give it a go. I would recommend people use wrap addresses where you're having recurring payments. One of the most sort of requested stuff is the mobile wallet. And so we already have now a mobile Lelantus library up. So what that means is that handles all the Lelantus cryptographic functions for mobile. And that's open for everyone to see. There's a repo on GitHub. And you can see that we have all the designs. The coding is more or less it's been progressing very well. There's some issues on doing the fingerprint stuff, but we're getting there. And so far, the mobile team told me that we can have an internal testing version without the wallet restoration feature because that's quite complex within 1 month, and probably 2 months for initial feature complete version for initial testing and bug testing. So then, depending on how many bugs are there, we'll see, and then it'll be released after. Of course, if there are not many bugs, we'll just release it. There's some bugs, bug testing is a bit hard to estimate how long it will take. So I guess we'll be looking at maybe 3 months or so, I guess. But yeah, take it with a grain of salt. So all right, next slide, please. Okay, instant send, also another requested feature. So remember, so Dash originally came out instant send, but it only works with transparent transactions. And we've almost completed that, but we need to check and verify it doesn't conflict with chain locks. Obviously, even though we're copying code, we're still having to verify that it works. Not that it works, that it's working correctly as described by the documentation. And we have identified bugs in the past, so we definitely even though we are taking some of the code from Dash, it's very important for us to also make sure that we understand it completely. So that's why there's some additional checking. Obviously the normal instant send is almost complete, but the Lelantus instant send is more complex because it requires different things to be locked. It is working. There's a repo that you can take a look, and although we can probably release normal instant send pretty quickly, I don't know. I personally view that we should release it together with Lelantus instant send rather than release normal instant send and without Lelantus instant send. So So yeah, so we need to release this together. And obviously, if people want, they can ask us to release normal instance send first, but I think it would create like confusion, right? They say, why isn't my Lelantus sense instant? So that's why I decided not to release it with the normal instance send. Okay, so next. So ProgPOW is slightly delayed, not to any fault to us. It was supposed to have already been released a lot earlier. But what happened was the external developer has missed several deadlines. Finally the Firo miner is working. You can take a look at the repo there. But if the work is not completed soon, we are planning to take over away from the external developer. I mean, it's rather unfortunate, but it's taking way too long, and we may have to take it into our own hands. So as far as we can tell, it's probably about 75% complete. We just need to make sure that the tests are completed, the test unit tests and stuff like that is working, and the transition code to move from the existing MTP to ProgPOW. That hasn't been done. So if we are doing it, we'll probably, hopefully at least he can get the test to run. We can do the transition code ourselves, but we're giving him another week or so. If that doesn't work, we'll probably take over. So it's a bit of a setback, but nothing that we can fix. And Christy, who is one of the authors of ProgPOW, actually, offered to help if we do take over this work. So it does require a hard fork, and we are actually planning to roll certain other changes together with it, which has some improvements to Lelantus. And if you notice, Trezor and Ledger does not support when you send a Lelantus private transaction to the Trezor ledger. It doesn't quite recognize it. And we spoke to the Trezor ledger team, and they prefer for us to move this payload off to a different part of the header, so that their device can support it. So we're doing that. Requires a hard fork, so we want to get all the stuff like this to be done in one hard fork rather than multiple hard forks. So that's why we have been, kind of set back by this ProgPOW stuff. But it gives us time to roll out more updates in this one hard fork. Once things stabilize, we do intend to drop the block time from 5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. We cannot drop it too low because it does take time for chain locks and the quorums to establish. And we think that 2.5 minutes is a nice kind of in between. But it wouldn't be in this hard fork, maybe in the next one or so. The other thing that is working is the Elysium coding. So Elysium is actually pretty complete, but because of the upcoming hard fork, and also because we are changing the way the Lelantus payload is done for Trezor and Ledger support, that's why we don't want to launch Elysium now and then have to do a transition again. So we think it's better that once we do the hard fork, then we launch Elysium, so that people who launch Elysium tokens don't have to do this transition between Lelantus versions. So yeah. Okay, next slide. So we also been working on some minor reskin work. So as you can see, like before, it's decent, but it looks a bit unpolished. So we decided, without having to recode everything, we just want some minor changes. And you can see from the after, it still looks more or less the same, but you can see that it looks a lot more clean. The buttons are a lot cleaner and stuff like that. So it'll be a minor change, and but I think it improved. I think it looks a lot better than the previous one. So that's already in progress. I will share the Figma files. Anyone can take a look there. And yeah, okay. Next slide. So this is something that's also quite interesting. Paramin, he likes smart contracts a lot. So he had wanted to, investigate whether it should have EVM capability. And to we have always said that Firo itself should not have smart contract capability because it is a lot of work to maintain just the privacy infrastructure, and it also increases the attack surface a lot. We just want to be currency, and that's why we've been building bridges into DeFi stuff and things like that. But of course, Pormin is interested in having some sort of FiroVM, which maybe a side chain, maybe merge mine. It's not an official core team project. It is Permin's own initiative. There's already code. I think it's working on rack tests already, and I think he's looking for developers. So that's an interesting thing. I don't have a lot of details on it yet, but you can take a look at what he's done, and if anyone's interested in helping him out with it, it's fine. But it wouldn't affect the main chain. It'll be probably a side chain or merge mine chain. So yeah. Okay. Next. So we have had some partnerships in the past month or so. We had a Flux Node partnership with which is used to be called Zelcore. Now they have renamed themselves to Flux OS, and Flux OS is just basically a way to run your node infrastructure in a decentralized way. We've also had a new way to get USD stablecoin loans on CoinRabbit. I've used it myself. It's pretty cool. So you can put your Firo on CoinRabbit and get like a USD loan. And you don't need to have any sort of KYC documents or stuff like that. I think the only thing you need to provide is your phone number. So that's a drawback, but some form of identity just on the phone number isn't too bad compared to having to upload passports or stuff like that. My Constant, which also has a loan platform, they recently added futures and also available shorting. So if anyone doesn't like us, they can short us. So that's available. We've also been working with the Atomic DAX team, as you can see in the little screenshot on the bottom left. It's almost like a totally decentralized exchange. It uses atomic swaps. We are working with them to come up with a custom version of Atomic DAX where it is, in our colors, in our scheme, and has Firo in its default list. They are releasing a new version soon, so they want to wait until they release a new version before working on the customization, but it's probably not too far off. And I think, although it hasn't gotten much traction yet, I do think it's quite a promising infrastructure, and they've been very helpful. So, especially when privacy coins are facing a lot of regulatory heat, stuff like Atomic DAX, where there isn't like a centralized infrastructure, is really important. Anyone can run the Atomic DAX infrastructure, so I think that's really cool. Now, we originally had a poll about, there was a lot of interest to integrate with Torchain. And I think Torchain has had like 3 or 4 hacks in the past 1 month. 3 or 4 hacks in the past 1 month. And we already had our first integration call. We have had all the, we ran through the documentation. It will probably be like, once we start working on it, it will probably be 1 to 2 months of work on our end. But then they also require something like $500,000 US worth of liquidity committed or something like that, which, given the recent hacks, is also kind of concerning. So I wouldn't write them off yet. We are still interested in the integration, but we probably would not be prioritizing it like right now. We originally say like, okay, once we complete InstaSend, we straight away go to Torchain. I do think that we should take a look to see how they develop and make sure that the system is more secure, and before we rush headlong into it. I think it's a nice to have, but I don't want people losing more money, right? So that's cool. There's another cool integration by AnySwap, and Rasik from Arcadia. I think he's on the call. His team has been, working on this almost like, I think pro bono, totally like a very nice community contribution. And AnySwap allows people to swap stuff. Maybe Rasik, why don't you? Are you there? Do you want to just give a quick overview? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so right now, uh, we've we've put together the minimum requirements for the AnySwap integration, which is basically adding in Firo into their cross-chain bridge repository. Right now, of course, it has to pass DAO governance, but I don't think that would be a problem. Um, Arcadia does have a substantial amount of any holdings, so when it goes through the DAO or something along those lines,
Hmm.
it should pass pretty quickly. Right now, on the AnySwap side, they're actually we're done on our side for the testing and actually building out the software. It's really just AnySwap going through and making sure we did everything correctly, as well as their own due diligence and making tokens as well, things relevant to that area. In terms of some fun stuff that came out of this, outside of the core AnySwap integration, we created a partially complete Firo util, as well as some other cool toolings that AnySwap has as dependencies, which means that Firo got some free Golang stuff as well. So yay!
Very
You
nice.
can actually you,
Can you also give a very high level overview of what AnySwap is?
oh yeah, sorry. AnySwap is a decentralized or pseudo decentralized wrapping system for cryptocurrency. Basically, how it works is they use this thing called Fusion DCRM, which basically allows for an arbitrary number of signers to wrap and unwrap assets. They have it in a way that there are enough signers that it can't be easily taken down. They unfortunately did recently suffer from a hack as well. Apparently, all the bridges are burning. But I think that their attack was the attack that they had was actually kind of on a small experimental piece of software and not their core software. So there's not too much of a concern there. I'm going to drop a link to the actual code in the repository real quick. Or, sorry, the actual AnySwap repository that we've put together. Let me drop this real quick. Firo Telegram. Here you go. So this is the branch that we're working on. And if you go into our base organization, you can see the rest of the Firo stuff. Now, the wrapping functionality, it supports Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Polygon. It's going to be supporting Solana soon, from what I've heard, as well as a few others. So it's going to give us a wide range of options. Now, I would recommend that we primarily focus on providing liquidity for the BSC and Ethereum ones, right? Just because, no one's really using the other bridges, except for Polygon. But, even then, we would need to find use cases for having it on Polygon as well.
Right. So basically, that means you can have your Firo represented on all these chains and swap it in and out of native Firo into those chains, kind of semi decentralized, I suppose. Yeah, and yes, it's a non KYC as well. So I'm personally very excited about this, and I'm really happy that Rasik took the initiative. They have been like one of the biggest supporters. They even gave us like a recent $10,000 donation. So pretty cool. Really happy with, yeah. I don't know. I know I don't sound it, but I'm really happy. Okay, so let's moving on. We also have a Travala promo that has one more week to run. So that if you book any like hotel with Travala, you get like a 10% back. So I know it's COVID and stuff like that. But for those of you, especially in the US and stuff, we're all vaccinated and can travel and stuff. It'll be a nice way to get some savings and use Firo on your hotel stuff. So that's pretty cool. I think it's ending on the 31st of July. So yeah. I think let's go to the next slide. We've also gotten listed on Polarity, which is a decentralized exchange, kinda. I guess the main thing is that it's based off Waves DEX. They have a lot of privacy coins on them. They're relatively new. I think it's a nice option to have. I always think that more options are good. But yeah, give them a go. I don't know if their trading competition is still going on. But yeah, just check them out. There's some small amounts of liquidity there. Okay, next. So the other thing that we are on, in Rasid mentioned that there's a wrapping, like if we have any swap, we can have like any swap Firo on BNB. There is an existing bridge between native Firo and uh, Binance Smart Chain Firo, but the problem is that that bridge is operated by Binance, so it's not decentralized. Unlike with any swap where it's operated by a group of nodes, there's quite a decent amount of liquidity, about maybe 300 plus thousand US dollars. So if you want to swap a couple of hundred Firo, you can do so with relatively competitive rates. And the good thing is that although the pairings are with BNB, USDC is like a very minimal amount there. But even though the most of the liquidity is in the BNB pair, because of the way PancakeSwap, which is a fork of Uniswap, works, it would auto route. Like, so for example, if I want Firo to USDT or Firo to Bitcoin, wrap Bitcoin or something else, it will auto route so that you can easily swap between Firo to USDT, Firo USDC, or DAI, or whatever else that is on Binance Smart Chain. Obviously, Binance Smart Chain is not the most decentralized, but it is no KYC, and I do think it is reasonably censorship resistant. Maybe that's not the right word to call it, but it is reasonably decentralized, that it is not so easily targeted, and there's a lot of interest in it, despite most of the nodes being run by Binance. But it's an interesting thing to do. There are like quite a few transactions every day, so we are seeing people doing arbitrage with the pancake swap, which is great. And this is kind of what we want to see, right? Where we have decentralized options augmenting our centralized options as well. And hopefully, once we have any swap on, we'll see our Firo on more chains, and make sense for more DEXs, and maybe even like decentralized lending platforms. Okay, next slide. Okay, so Lucas has been running this meme competition, and we have some winners. Thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, we've I think already given out all the prizes, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe one or two have not given out their addresses, but we've given it out. We'll probably be doing more of this, and we'll probably have a different way to evaluate, because we think upvotes are kind of like very gameable, right? You can always it's not very fair, so we'll think of better ways. But thank you so much for those who submitted. It was a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun, and we'll do more of this. All right, next slide. Okay, so we have a couple of things that we want feedback on. Due to time constraints, I would not go too much into the Firo manifesto. So the Firo manifesto is just based. I think Nuwa will probably be linking it in the main chat. And what basically, this was kind of like a draft to kind of guide what direction that Firo should take, right? And kind of like our constitution, because as we move to more decentralized stuff, we want to make sure that we have some core stuff. Like, the core team's not going to be there forever, and I think it's good to have some key principles that we adhere to. I know it's a bit wordy, so if anyone has any suggestions, things that they want to change, please give your feedback in the forum. And some people have been giving feedback on the Telegram channel, or somewhere else, or on Twitter. We like it, but then we prefer you to get it in the forum, because then it doesn't get lost, and then we don't have to look at several places. And it's not just for us, it's just for everyone else as well, because Twitter is it's like very like transient, right? And similarly with Telegram chats, you say it, within a few minutes people don't see it. So I think a forum is a good way to kind of consolidate feedback. And yeah, so I hope that everyone weighs in. It's more about like what we should do, what's our core principles, some of the stuff that we should not compromise on and stuff like that. So yeah, the other thing is our new privacy protocol. As mentioned, I've been calling it Lelantus 3. But yeah, I mean, we're open to the names. There is an ongoing poll, as you can see, and right now there has been, let's see how many votes. There's been 40 votes. So far, 63% thinks that we should call it some variant of Lelantus. And Aram likes that as well, because the idea is that Lelantus, as a brand name, has not fully developed yet, but has already gained some recognition. So to kind of start from scratch again is not great. And the good thing, I guess, about Lelantus is that it's already very SEO towards there's like search engine optimizations and links to Firo. So I think that's good. Of course, we are still open to updates. If suddenly the community is like, no, we want to call it something else. But so far, it looks like we'll be calling it Lelantus something. I don't know, Lelantus Evil, Lelantus Tree, Lelantus, I don't know, something Nebula. As I've seen that suggestion as well. So yeah, I mean, please do weigh in as well. The other one, which it looks to be that most people have been voting not to change the supply. So very early on in our history, very early on in our history, we got hacked quite badly, where almost 400,000 coins were like created out of thin air, and that's why our total supply is 21.4 mil. Obviously, this is already like so long ago, and it's the impact has already been done. There's no further impact on it, but it's more of like, should we keep to the 21 million that it was originally intended to? Or should we just adjust it and like take it away from the tail emission and bring it back to 21 million? Or as people will ask, why 21.4 million and stuff like that. So far, just reading from this community feedback, most community members don't care and don't think that we should change it from 21.4 to 21. I mean, there's some saying 20, commit to 21, but I think it's, if I'm counting correctly, most people say like, don't focus on this stuff, focus on development. 21.4, 21 doesn't really make a difference. If I'm reading it wrong, you're free to correct me, but that's kind of what I'm getting from the forum right now. So that's if you have a strong opinion, please do weigh in there. So okay, so next slide. So we have a new merchant page. That's nice. It's still not fully populated, but if you have a business that accepts Firo, let us know. We have all the stuff like Travala, Locktrade, and then you have this iKing, Shopping.io. You have CoinRabbit. You have all these other places where you can spend Firo. But obviously, if you have a business, it doesn't matter how big it's or how small it is. We don't care. We just want people to be proud to accept Firo and have it on. Of course, we would accept almost anything unless it is like clearly illegal and would put us in trouble for putting it on, or it's like a clear Ponzi scam or some stuff like that. We're not going to do a lot of vetting, so use at your own risk. But we want to make sure that people know where they can use their Firo at least. So yeah, nice merchant page. If any, please, we really, even if you have a small little hawker store that accepts Firo, let us know. We'll be happy to push it and put it on our page as well. So yeah, next slide. All right, so now it's the Q&A time. We do have, I guess maybe like 15 to 30 minutes of questions. There's a lot been covered today. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? And if anyone wants to speak on this, feel free to put up your hand. One thing I would ask is please don't ask stuff like, when price go up or when marketing or stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, if there are certain concrete things that you have suggestions for, like for example, like, why don't you look at integration at this? Why don't you do this? Yes, but not like, what marketing or like very vague stuff like that. So yeah, happy to answer any questions. We are always available. So yeah. So it looks like Nico is typing. Will you be adding Pirate Chain to the competitor comparison page? Yeah, sure. I think I'll be probably redoing the privacy comparison page. um just to update on recent developments. I think also Lelantus has also changed quite a bit since that. But I don't know. I mean, like every time I do this, then people are like, "Oh, we have been super fair," but there's always going to be complaints, right? But yeah, I definitely will be putting them under the kind of similar like ZK Snarks territory, which is what they use. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's actually one of the very few resources that goes into all of it in detail without being lame and having like stupid comparison charts that aren't very helpful at all. So I actually want to know because I've also been hearing like a lot of people talk about DeFi, oh yeah, I want Torchain integration, but I'm not actually seeing much people use it, and I'm just wondering why. So like, do you guys just want it because of the pump, or do you actually want to use it? I do think stuff like AnySwap or like Torchain, if it works, or Atomic DEX are genuinely useful, but we haven't actually been seeing much uptake there. I do think PancakeSwap have showed some uptake, but purely on an arbitrage basis. So yeah. So yeah, any other questions? I don't see any hands up within the Telegram chat, so I'll just be monitoring that. Hi, Yogesh. Yeah, people are shy. So don't complain if that we are centralized and make decisions without community, because we do have this meetings like almost once a month or so, and we do definitely take your feedback. Any thoughts on which DEX is the most decentralized and censorship resistance? That's a tough question. It's a multifaceted question. I do think Atomic DEX is decently decentralized because if I'm not mistaken, anyone can list anything, and there's no like centralized infrastructure there. Okay, hang on. Okay, let me answer Nico's stuff first. And that's really important because if there's a centralized, like for example, with Polarity, right? Polarity, I don't know if they're completely open source, and I don't know if you can actually host their infrastructure and they also decide what gets listed or not. Or something like Atomic DEX, the protocol itself is like, I think you doesn't need like for them to approve it. You can always build your own. Everything's open sourced, and anyone can run the infrastructure. How it would work under load, there's been some tests that shows that it works decently under load, but we'll believe it when we see it. And I think that's good because like if anyone can run the infrastructure, there's no way to delist. And like they don't have a say. Torchain is, although a lot of people say that it is decentralized, it is kind of, but it is not really that censorship resistance because from our call with Torchain, they have about 100 slots of what gets onto the Torchain DEX. And what gets on the torch index is voted by governance, right? So if people vote not to have it in, or if there's like regulatory pressure not to have it in, I don't know how that will pan out, but it is not like permissionless. There's still some sort of permission. So I feel that in that case, Torchain isn't as decentralized as something like Atomic DEX, but yeah, that's my personal opinion. Of course, Pancake Swap is not, not censorship resistant because Binance does control that chain. Uh, I I think that covers about it. I don't know if I'm missing any other major DEXs. So Joker Masters asks, when Firo have P2P exchange so people can buy Firo direct from Firo. I mean, we don't have a lot of Firo to sell. We don't have. Remember, this is a decentralized project, so only 15% of the block reward comes to us, which amounts to about 15k Firo a month. And we don't really have issues letting go that amount. It's just such a small amount. And we don't want to get into the business of selling Firo. I think that has some like legal regulatory concerns. But Atomic DEX is effectively P2P. You don't have to, we can place orders there. Anyone can place order there. So that would be a P2P way of buying Firo. But once you start involving like fiat and stuff like that, then obviously it gets more complicated. But Atomic DEX would support like conversions from Bitcoin or stable coins and stuff like that. Yeah, so we definitely don't want to run an exchange. It's really horrible. Yeah. So Altcoin Gamer and Nico are typing. Oh yeah, so we've been kind of like putting out more TikToky, Instagram reel type of videos. I don't know how does everyone find that? Does everyone like that? And integration, we actually used to be with the integration with BIS. Okay, see you, Rusty. Would the integration with BISC be possible? So actually, BISC, if I'm not mistaken, I remember they changed some policy there. But Muggus and I tried BISC, and we were actually listed on BISC as Zcoin, but the UI is really bad. uh, so I tried it. It's still a freaking pain. So I don't know. I just don't think it's the way to go. I know that Monero uses it, but I think Monero only uses it because it was the only kind of way to do DEXs then, and it's gathered some support. But I think there are much better solutions out there right now. Okay, does anyone put up their hand? I see that Seville has joined. So we still probably have another 10 plus minutes more. Does anyone have any questions on our research, on our development stuff? Honestly, what we actually need right now is more people talking about Firo, and that can't come from the core team. That has to come from the community. Yeah, so we had to pause Firo Frontier, unfortunately. Spline Apple had some personal business to take care of, and we also, with the recent downturn, we also had to save the budget, but we've also been putting out different types of content. I hope it's been interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's more accessible. It's a bit cringe for me, but it's the new wave, right? So, just a quick update on the funding perspective. We are, kind of on the break even. We do have some reserves, so we're fine. Hopefully, things turn around. We don't have like that's why we haven't been like having lots of competitions and stuff like that. We're making sure that we have reserves if this turns out to be an extended bear market. But we are still fully operational, and we haven't slowed down on development or things like that. A Patreon, OnlyFans. Get AJ to be on OnlyFans. We actually do have a place that you can contribute, which is, yes, on the Open Collective, and it's great. Arcadia has actually donated quite a bit. Minpon and several other people. I wouldn't say we get a very serious amount, but so far we've gotten, let's see, yeah, total this year we've gotten about 12,000 plus US dollars, which is nice, and 10,000 of it came from Arcadia, so that's nice. But every bit helps. We're currently okay, but of course with additional funds it always helps us. Yeah. And we can get this like directly in fiat using Open Collective, so that's great. Since libraries of mobile wallets, you should release at the same time for iOS and Android. Yeah, I think Android probably would come first and then iOS. But the code for the mobile library is designed to be meant for both iOS and Android, with some slight changes. Third-party wallets can integrate. It's not a full SDK as we originally wanted, but the Lelantus does make it easier for third-party wallets to support it. Hopefully, once we get it, I don't know when is the right time. I feel that the right time to get like a full SDK and everything would be once Lelantus version 3 is released. Obviously, we are not holding back on our existing mobile wallet, but because we want to have the support of the private addresses and stuff like that, I just think it makes more sense to have it once Lelantus version 3 is out. But we will still have our own, at least a mobile option for Lelantus as it is right now. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. Yeah, maybe add the supporters of the video. So yeah, actually, we should. It's actually on a GitHub. So if you go on the GitHub, you would see the supporters. If you scroll down, like financial contributor, you can see, Rasik's face is there and a couple of other people. But yeah, I do think that is good to promote it on the videos as well. I just don't want people to think that we are like, oh, hard out on the cash, we're not rolling in it, but and donations are really help us out, like especially during that dip that was like really tough. So ballpark figure for Lelantus version 3 release, so the paper will be out in August, and we probably can start coding in August. We probably can get a testnet version out in Q1 of next year. I think that's good. But I do think, it's not that soon. Like, I do think we're looking at V3 Q1 for a testnet release. For the audited for safety, so I don't know, the kernel bits, they were supposed to be best, but they actually missed a pretty critical flaw, which should have been caught. We'll see. We'll probably explore other auditing firms, and then leverage the contacts with that. But we do think that the new paper should be a lot higher quality. But we'll probably start coding Lelantus version 3 in September. We originally thought about August, but it looks like we have a lot of stuff to do in August. So I think a September starting time would be more likely. Now, the amount of work versus Lelantus version 2, Lelantus version 3 are kind of similar. It's a bit hard to estimate exactly, but they are not significantly different in terms of coding work. Yeah. I hope people understand why we are moving to Lelantus version 3, because if we do Lelantus version 2, Lelantus version 3 on the architectural standpoint is pretty different than Lelantus version 2. So if we do Lelantus version 2, we kind of have to redo everything for Lelantus version 3. And it just seems Lelantus version 3 is almost better in many, many ways. So if it's just delayed for a few months, I think it makes more sense to have Lelantus version 3. Yeah, because I do think self addressing is really important. See, you have a lot of Vietnamese joining. Do they have any questions? Ding dong, 1 hour. Yep. So I guess I guess we'll open it for another 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions, obviously, you can always ask questions in the chat, but yeah, if you just want, like, me answering it, you have my attention right now, then yeah. Okay. Is there anything else on the slide? Is that it? Let me see. Nope, that's the last slide. Right, cool. We're also working on a bunch of new T-shirts. Like I don't know, this one's kind of nice, but okay. Repeat the order of releases for the upcoming hard fork. So we're probably done with the maintenance release unless there's something that we really want to wait. But the next release should be ProgPOW that comes together with the Ledger Trezor update and some fixes. And then after that, it'll be instant send later. So yeah, that's the current timeline. Yeah. Yeah, we may, I don't know, maybe to do the 5 minute, the 2.5 minute thing then, but in instance end, but no promises there. I don't want to add additional load to the team, especially once we have like instance end. It's like, is the shorter block time that important? Maybe it is, but it's to me not as critical. Yeah. Yeah, the Lelantus payload update is important, yeah, purely because Trezor doesn't want to support us unless we fix that. So yeah, that's why if you update to the latest firmware of Trezor, you don't see Firo. So yeah, we want to make sure that we are back on them as soon as possible. Okay, I guess that's it. Looks like White Rabbit just joined. White Rabbit, any questions do you have? I'm open just for you. All right. I guess this is it. Thank you so much for coming, and it's also so nice to see Anthony. It's been a while since I last saw you, and I hope you're doing well. And thanks everyone for coming. We are still available in the chat as usual. Please, remember to register a forum account. Or if you don't want a forum account, you can always talk in Reddit. But if you have anything critical that you want to raise to us, we are always available in the forums, the Reddit, or in the chats. But if you have an opinion that you want feedback on, it's better to put it on the forum and stuff like that. All right. Let me end my live.